I'm gonna fight 'em off. A seven-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off, taking their time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind, behind a cigarette.
Jason, how are you, sir?
I'm doing quite well, Greg, and yourself?
Good.
You're
We are days away from Christmas. And are you prepped? Are you ready?
I am ready. I did my last little bit of shopping on the weekend,
Good
so I
stuff.
don't have to run around like a chicken with my head cut off. That being said, I think I do have to pick up Brussels sprouts still. But other than that, I think we're all good.
Well,
Yourself?
good. Well, I'm doing fine. Yeah, everything is sort of a panicked rush after this. I think I'm gonna have to go out and visit again. And yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get used to just buying everything on Amazon. But I think that takes time. So, anyways, but we have more important things to talk about. Boy, you go away for about a week and the world changes. So, okay, in episodes past, you and I were talking about, Rutherford. There's just no way he's going to pull the trigger. He doesn't have the ability, the fortitude to do so. And then, bang, he does so. And Quinn Hughes is no longer a Vancouver Canuck. You don't have to worry about whether he's going to re-sign. And you get a boatload of people back, and you guys go on a winning streak,
Yep.
which I'm not going to start in here. I don't think that's the best thing for you. But what happened, Jay?
Well, I mean, it was 10 days ago when we were surmising not if, but when a trade might happen and thinking that we were going to have weeks to discuss this in January. And lo and behold, it was not, it was 2 Fridays ago. It feels like it just happened, but it's already been 10 days since Hughes was traded to Minnesota, and he wasn't a team I think that was on anybody's radar. And I think like all of the pundits were. I mean, I think Elliot Friedman was sort of the most out front about saying like he was completely taken by shock that it ended up being Minnesota. But in hindsight, probably we all should have been thinking, hey, what about Minnesota? And we might have all just been thinking he's going to end up going back east, or he played in Michigan, Detroit's there, and both those teams had the kind of packages. But Minnesota, like I mean, the package the Canucks got back.
Pretty good.
I mean, yeah, I don't. I mean, I think everybody's sort of not everybody, but I mean, most of the experts have come out and said like they probably couldn't have done any better. I mean, like they're trading away Norris caliber defensemen, so they probably needed to get a defenseman back, and preferably a young one who could start like becoming the next. You're not going to become the next Quinn Hughes, but becoming the next power play guy for the Canucks. The Canucks needed a number two center, and they need some scoring wingers. So they end up getting like Zeev Buyam, who's was I mean, I think he was sort of viewed as one of the top defensive prospects that was available, maybe one of the top prospects in hockey. I mean, he was just sort of starting to get his footing in Minnesota. But if they're getting Hughes and they've already got Brock Faber, like he would have been a third pairing guy in Minnesota. He's already stepped up and he's been uh, everything I think Canuck fans could want and a little bit more for a young 20-year-old defenseman. And I mean, the thing for the Canucks long term is he seems like he's a winner. I mean, he won gold at the under 18s, won a couple gold medals at the World Juniors, and he was a star at last year's. And he won a Frozen Four at the University of Denver. So he's bringing a winning sort of heritage uh, for a young guy to a team that needs to reestablish itself as a winning franchise in a place that other players might want to come and play at.
I
And
read someone described him as Quinn Hughes light.
yep,
That's
that's
awesome.
there's been a lot
That's
of that. I mean,
high praise.
yeah, when I was listening to one of the guys on talk radio this morning in Vancouver here, just saying like, hey, I mean, that's a lot to put on a young guy, but I mean, he's got offensive skills. He's got confidence. I mean, no one's Quinn Hughes. I mean, like I think it was Kevin Woodley was talking today saying like there's only one Quinn Hughes. Like even Cale Makar doesn't sort of like break ankles at the blue line the way that Quinn Hughes does. So Hughes is a unique talent. But I mean, William looks like he can like quarterback a power play for
Yeah.
the next 10 years here.
Right. Right.
And I mean, that's one thing they need to replace. But they also got Marco Rossi. And again, this goes to the fact that nobody seemed to have Minnesota on the radar, but the Canucks were all over Rossi in the off season there, trying to see if there was a trade because Rossi hadn't signed. You think he was still an RFA with Minnesota. He hadn't signed a contract yet, and He ultimately did signing there. So Vancouver's got him on a fairly decent contract, and he's looking like he can be a number 2C. And I've read like the suggestions are, hey, he's a number 3C on a really good team. Well, this team doesn't have a 2C or a 3C. So if he can slot in as a 2C,
Right.
that's fantastic. Some people are going to argue they don't even have a 1C with Pedersen being out and trying to find his legs again. But I mean, they were all over Rossi in the offseason. So it kind of makes sense that he'd be included in this package. And then Liam Ogren, who's kind of the third player in the deal, anyways, is like he's been very impressive the first 4 games here. I mean, he's got a goal and an assist, and I mean, Vancouver's got a prospect by the name of Jonathan Lekramacky, who's still in Abbotsford, and they took him 15th, the 2022. I think they took him 15th overall. Buffalo's got a center by the name of Noah Ostlund, who's been playing very well. I think he's been playing with Tage Thompson the last couple of weeks, and he was the 16th pick in that draft. Well, Ogren was the 19th pick in that draft. So, like a valuable prospect in his own right. He's not. I don't think he's just a throw in. And I know the Canucks were thinking, or the guess was, well, he'll get a couple games here. They'll test him out, then they'll send him down to Abbotsford and get him playing with Lekramacky and get his feet in the organization. Well, he's been so good. They're now like, no, he's likely going to stick around here. And I mean, if they got a piece like that, like a scoring winger, a scoring winger prospect, like that's 3 first round picks is what they got, players, and they're all at different stages. Like Rossi was 2020, Ogren was 2022, Bulliam was 2024. So they're nicely spaced out, and they've got a 1st round pick. Minnesota, it's unprotected. Now, Minnesota's good enough that it doesn't need protection. It's going to be probably a
Right.
late 20s kind of pick. But this sounds like it's a deep draft, 2026. So it's another 2 years apart. They're going to have these 4 basically 1st round assets for Quinn Hughes.
Right.
So they had to trade a generational defenseman, arguably the best player in Canucks history. Pavel Bure fans might have some debate. People who love the Sedins will say 2 for the price of 1 is good, but he's certainly one of the top 5 players in franchise history.
Yeah.
But you're getting back 4 1st round assets.
Yeah, no, Rutherford and or Patrick did a fantastic job. But, I have questions.
Yep.
So first question, does the fire sale continue? Like you get rid of Sherwood, do you get rid of Connor Garland? Like what's the idea at this point?
Well, I mean, Rutherford's come out and basically said all of the UFAs are available. So Sherwood's likely going to be traded because he'll bring back an asset or 2, depending on who really fancies him. He had a hat trick uh, the other night there, so he's up to 16 goals in the season. He's top 3 in the league in hits. He got
He's got as
like we
many
talked about.
goals. He's got as many goals as Austin Matthews or something like that.
Probably he might have more.
Might have more.
I'm not sure exactly where Matthews is at. We'll get to the Leafs in a
He,
second,
he
but
doesn't he doesn't make 13 point something million a year, does he?
no, but his next contract, and he's not really in the age window that the Canucks are looking at now. Like they're trying to get younger. He's 30. He's going to be looking for anyways, probably like a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
And some of the thoughts are here now. He might be playing himself into like a $5 million contract. And the Canucks did this a couple years ago with Dakota Joshua, who had like a 20-goal season, and they signed him to like I think it was 3.5 or something like that. And I mean, he's now with your Maple Leafs, and so the Canucks are leery about again getting into a contract with somebody who's a little bit older, signing them to term, and then watching them sort of dip off. I don't think Sherwood would be that kind of player, but again, I mean, Joshua had some health issues too that came up, so it's not entirely like he got paid and then decided he didn't want to play hockey anymore. Sherwood is, I think he's going to be highly sought after. And I mean, you look at what Seattle got for Brian Marchment on the weekend, on last Friday, the last day before the trade freeze. I mean,
Mason
they got a second and a fourth for Brian Marchment. And
Mason
Sherwood,
Mason Marchment.
Mason Marchment, yeah.
Right.
If they got a second and a fourth for Bryant Marchment, that would be fantastic
Sure.
asset management.
Because he's about 60 now.
But uh, but you look at what like Seattle got. I mean, Sherwood should be worth at least that, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
And that's where again, Canuck fans are now like, we should be getting a first for this guy.
right.
So,
My next question,
yep,
this winning, so you want to create a culture, but this is not a great idea for Vancouver.
yeah,
Like for like
the fans of Tank Nation are not a fan of
Rutherford
four game winning streak. So
Rutherford has got to get rid of some of these prongs so that, the table dips and sags a bit because the best thing for you guys would really to finish, as low as possible, bottom three, bottom five.
yeah,
Right alongside the Leafs. So
but I was looking at the standings. I mean, because I know on I think on Saturday night at the panel after the late game on Saturday was talking about, hey, like look at where the Canucks and the Flames are all of a sudden in the standings, and they're like 10th, 11th in the West, and it's like that's true, but then you look at the point totals, and like from 9 to 15, it's like 34, 34, 33, 33, 32. Like everybody's bunched together where the Canucks have gone up to where they're at now with a 4 game winning streak. Well, once the hey, we traded Hughes bump disappears and they go on a 3 game losing streak, they could be right back down there at the bottom.
right.
So it's going to be, I mean, and again, I think Nashville beat your boys there on Saturday too, and that bumps them up. They've been winning a couple games, and that's, I mean, all these players are competitive. Like they were again. I mean, the discussion of whether the Canucks should tank is is a daily discussion here on Sports Talk Radio. But as I mean, again, I think it was Kevin Woodley this morning was pointing out that like all these guys are competitive. They're athletes. Athletes don't go out trying to lose games. The only way you're going to lose games, speaking to your point, is if you take away the pieces to be competitive. So, but as we've seen, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily think, hey, if we plug in William, Rossi, and Ogren and take out Quinn Hughes, that the Canucks are going to be a better team. Like on paper, it doesn't sound like it.
Right.
And one of the factors that it's being discussed here too, is the fact that Thatcher Demko is back. Like he was injured, he was away from the team for a bit.
Right.
I mean, he started 4 games in a row. He's finding his form.
Right.
Like when you have a Vezina caliber goalie who's like on his game, you're going to have a chance to win every night.
Right.
So
I think Vancouver did a fantastic job, quite frankly. It was becoming an absolute circus. And
yep,
so you can't have that around the team because, as you can see, I mean, the team either plays through it or they get handcuffed. So your team at least got a little bit handcuffed and let Minnesota deal with it. They probably don't even have a scrum after the games, right? Like they've probably got maybe one beat reporter, who can only attend home games. So let them be the ones to deal with this. Nobody's going to pay attention. If he walks, he walks. Or if they pull a trade last minute and only use him for one playoff run, so be it, right? I mean, it's Minnesota's problem now, and you guys are onwards and upwards. I think you guys are a much, much better team than you've been playing, but there was something wrong with the dressing room because it lasted 2 years. It's not something that was just temporary. Everybody thought, well, JT Miller's gone, but then boom, you had a huge problem this year as well.
well, it's been going on for a while here. I mean, you go back when the Canucks traded Bo Horvat. I mean, there were discussions. I remember like Bo Horvat was the captain of the Canucks, uh, relatively young player, but he had the guys. He's got Pedersen and Hughes and uh, Demko coming up, and like he's a little bit older than them. He has a kid, and there were discussions that hey, is he the right leader for this team? Looking at who the new core is going to be, and then they bring JT Miller in, and he's a little more brash than Bo Horvat. And Bo Horvat kind of fit the. You look at the history of Canuck captains, uh, even during the 2010s when they were like arguably one of the better teams in the league. I mean, their captains were like Marcus Naslund, and then it was Henrik Sedin. I mean, it's not like they had loud, bombastic, in your face kind of captains before. Even Trevor Linden was like I mean, he was a little bit more outspoken, but he's not like a grab you by the throat Mark Messier type of captain.
Right.
But that's kind of the history. Stan Smith. You look at the entire history of Canuck captains, like sort of very measured, calm. Bo Horvat kind of fit that model very well. Quinn Hughes again was like he was well spoken, but he was like a little bit quiet as well, right?
Hmm.
So um not sure where we're going with this, but
Well, what we were going to say is that for all of Vancouver's troubles, which hopefully are behind you, there is another team in the Canadian landscape who apparently are an AHL team masquerading as an NHL team. So when you talk about team culture or you talk about bombastic, so I guess what you do is in order to get the perfect soft team that just doesn't care, What you do is you absolutely wrap them up and inundate them with luxury. What you do is you have a famous sports science team that you feed the media with endless stories so that they can just parrot it back. And they've got doctor this and doctor that, and everything is taken care of. And players come on, just these tryout contracts because they can train at the Ford Performance Center in Toronto during the summer, get their career back on track. The AHL team is treated like gold, better than, the bottom 10 teams in the NHL. And you give them a mercurial, quiet, non-leader type of sharpshooter who can no longer sharpshoot and looks completely disengaged from the game. And then you just set it free. Like Leaf Nation, so for all the laughter and all the criticism, and all the snide comments, which I think is well deserved. I mean, you have to give a fleeting moment for some sympathy. Since 1967, great deal of fun for everybody else. And here we go. We've got someone who scores 4 goals in his first game, and what, 8, 9 years later, it's just a fat nothing burger. That's what we're dealing with.
Well, you guys won a playoff round last year, didn't you?
Okay.
You know what? Like as I was preparing for today, and I was going, hey, it was 11 days ago that we last talked, and then it was like the Hughes trade happened. During that same call, we were talking about, hey, have the Leafs turned it around? Because they'd gone on a little bit of a run. Joseph Wall was back. Hildeby was playing well, standing on his head, played wonderfully against Montreal on a Saturday night. And since then, they've played 6 games. They're 1-5. And their one game that they won, I think, was against the Bedardless Blackhawks. They've had the last 2 Saturday nights. I mean, two Saturdays ago, the Oilers came into Toronto and sort of hit them 6-3. And I
That
don't
was
think the game
such a that was such a bad beatdown. It was sort of like it wasn't even embarrassing. It was just sort of like, oh, okay, okay,
it was
whatever.
well, it was a measuring stick of, well, like, because a couple years ago, people were talking about, hey, is Matthews better than McDavid? And
No,
that discussion now is like not even fans in Toronto will try and make that argument anymore.
actually, I'll insert this. If you look at career playoff performances, one thing that stands out is Sidney Crosby, as you so eloquently put it just recently, but also Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Those names absolutely pop up, and there are only a precious few others, but they are literally floating at over 1.5 points per game in playoff games during playoff
Yep.
games. And Matthews and Marner and Tavares, maybe not Tavares, but anyways, Nylander, they're floating at zero point 0.9, so zero point 0.8 something. And so, they're producing in the playoffs, but it's not elite because the elite set the stage. And it's just remarkable. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have played so many more playoff games than the Leaf players have, and yet they managed to perform. So, yeah, so, you can't perform during the playoffs. That's one thing, and that's, critical. But if you can't even get up and play well during the regular season against a whole bunch of has-been teams, then what's left?
Well, like last Saturday, I mean, they went into Nashville and lost 5-3. Like one of the like you're saying, one of the lesser lights in the NHL, the team that's struggling in its own right, is like really. I mean, I think it was 5-3. This I don't think it was even that close. I watched about half that game. I was slipping back and forth between the other games on Saturday night there, but I mean the bits that I saw, I mean they didn't even look. I mean, it looked relatively good compared to the game they played against Washington that left Berube kind of like speechless
Yeah,
when reporters were asking him after the game, like, "Hey, how do you explain that effort?" And his only response was, "Go talk to those guys."
yeah,
Like it's up to the players, and I mean, it's kind of refreshing for a coach to say that and not sort of come up with some sort of deflection. Like, why not say, like, "Hey, I've spoken to them. They know what they have to do. They're professionals. They're getting paid a lot of money, and if that's how they're going to come out and perform, maybe go ask them."
right, right. Yeah, so there is no silver lining, obviously. The fact that you are trying to be rational and even-handed makes it even worse. However, what I will say is that at least we're not the Calgary Flames. At least we're not residents of Calgary cheering for Calgary. And I'm thinking about a couple of people that you and I both know in particular. So this comment is simply for them. In fact, we'll probably have to snip it in a short and make sure that they see it. So at
Well,
least,
I think it was Craig Button was talking with James Duthie the other day on TSN, and speaking of that, when he was talking about the Leafs' effort, and he was commenting on the fact that because where he's based, he watches a lot of Calgary and Vancouver, and like his comment was like, at least the fans in Calgary and Vancouver aren't getting cheated by their teams because they come out and they play hard. They just don't, as he said, they just don't have the skill to necessarily compete with the elite teams.
Yeah.
Where the Leafs, their players seem to be cheating their fans.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a Leafs fan, so I don't feel cheated.
I saw a couple of highlights from one of the disaster games recently, and Bobby McMahon, who, when he plays well, can actually play well, but he must have something horrible going on in his life or what have you that he can't even have, doesn't even have time to think about hockey because he was out there not even figure skating. It was worse than that. I mean, like I've watched house league hockey in my day, and the majority of the house league players put in a far better effort, even when they can't do crossovers, a far better effort than Bobby McMahon did.
Now he had an amazing snipe on Saturday night. He scored the fourth after the Predators got their first empty net goal to make it 4-2. The Leafs came back. It was just under a minute left, but like McMahon had an amazing snipe to make it 4-3. Now, I think it's Cuthbert and Simpson were again talking about him maybe being the second coming after that shot. And then of course Nashville went and within 20 seconds scored their second empty netter to ice it.
Right.
But McMahon did have a moment of clear-headedness if you're suggesting he had something's going on. But
Yeah.
I mean, but
When
that's the thing. It's like
when the game doesn't matter, yeah, sure, he'll perk up.
So, Greg, we're back. We had a little bit of a technical glitch in the call drop, but we're back. You've got a different view, or I have a different view of the trees behind you. So,
Yes, yes.
I think when we dropped there, we were in the midst of talking about whether Austin Matthews would pepper Quinn Hughes with questions about how to deal with management asking for a trade while they're at Milan together.
Yep.
Some shared time at the Olympic Village,
Right. Yeah.
figuring out where maybe Austin gets to Minnesota and they can play together.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
So
great.
I doubt that. Or you can go join the Hughes brothers in New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it should be just switching again from that discussion just to the Olympics. It will be. I know you and I were having a chat about what role a struggling Austin Matthews might play on a U.S. Olympic team, and I think there's JT Miller is another guy that was pretty feisty and played well during the Four Nations uh, tournament there, and I think everyone had him kind of penned in as a 3 or 4 C on that U.S. Olympic team, and he's kind of struggled in New York. So it's going to be interesting what kind of decisions all the teams make. But the Americans look like they've got some interesting decisions, as do the Canadians.
Right.
Canadians maybe being more like which young talent do they bring?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
but I think both teams, like I think we talked about before. I mean, like both teams are going to be loaded. It'll be uh, a final between those two teams would be uh, excellent. But I mean, I don't think. I mean, again, once you're in Europe, sometimes these North American teams. Uh, I'm thinking about Milan, or not Milan, Turin in 2006 when
Wayne
Canada
Gretzky,
was.
Wayne Gretzky flop,
Um,
or was that 98?
well, 98 was in
Nagano.
Nagano. He was
Yeah.
on the team. I think. Well, Gretzky was part of the brain trust that put together the 2006 team that did not perform very well, but the Americans didn't either. I think it ended up being a Sweden Finland final
Right.
with the Swedes winning, and who knows if that could happen again. The Russians won't be there. I mean, but the Swedes look like they could ice a very good team, and they've got great goaltending as well, right? So,
Yeah.
like as we saw in '98 Nagano, like the Czechs walk away with a medal because of Dominik Hasek and
Right.
Gustafsson or Wallstedt or one of the other Swedish goalies. But I think those are the two guys right now from Minnesota who are probably going to be Swedish goalies.
I saw that he of the aggressive team meeting, Jack Hughes, is back, and so he played a first game or the first game, and I think he scored a goal actually.
Yep.
And so I took a look at the stat line. He played almost 21 minutes, so pretty impressive for first game back.
Yeah.
So I guess he was training hard
You
during
can
his
keep cardio up when you've just cut your hand, right?
right,
So
right, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's another guy that should be on that team and playing on the U.S. Olympic team could be
Where does he slot in? Does he slot in at 2C?
uh, Hughes.
Yeah, Jack Hughes for the
Um,
American team.
yeah. Well, I don't think he can play on the Canadian team, right? He wouldn't be
That's
a
right.
2C on the Canadian team. Well, I mean, if Matthews is the 1C,
Eichel's 1C.
okay. Well, then, yeah, is Hughes going to be the 2C ahead of Austin
Right,
Matthews? I'd
right. Yeah,
imagine if Eichel's the 1C, I guess I was penciling in Matthews as the 1C just because he was the captain of the Four Nations. I'm assuming he's going to be the captain of this team.
right,
But if Eichels and Matthews are 1-2, then Hughes could be a 3C.
right.
Um,
Is Stone your 4C? Oh no, he's Canadian.
he's
Oh yeah.
Canadian. Yeah.
Okay. Is Stone the 4C in Canada?
Well, no, he would be a wing
Would he? Okay.
because your centers in Canada are going to be unless they put McKinnon on Crosby's wing. I mean, McDavid's 1C, McKinnon would be 2C, Crosby would be 3C.
3C. Yeah.
But they probably play. My guess is that they probably use McKinnon as a winger, play him with Crosby. Wasn't the Nova Scotia line the Crosby, McKinnon, Marchand
Marchand. Yeah.
kind of posited? But
Right.
um, I mean, who else is? I mean, again, like I mean, this is where we go. Like the other centers that they can possibly roll out. I mean, if you've got like, do you bring Bennett? Do you bring Scheifele? Um, Braden Point is on the team. Is
Yes.
Braden Point going to be your 4C, or is Point your 3C with Hagel?
Right.
And again, like the options they have, or if they're bringing one or two of the young guys. I mean, imagine a line with Celebrini and Bedard, and Bedard's on the wing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that could be your fourth line that would sort of scare the bejesus out of any fourth line on any of the other teams, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's true.
Unless the Americans decided to just roll the Kachucks out against those guys and pound them into submission.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk's not back yet. Like, how healthy is he going to be? I guess he'll have a month lead up
Right.
to the Olympics.
Can you skate when you're healing from a stomach tear?
Well, I don't. Was it a stomach tear? I thought it was. I thought it was his groin. His groin muscle had basically been ripped away from the bone.
No. So the answer is no. You can't really train when you got
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
not for cardio, but I mean, he's been. I mean, his lead up. I mean, I don't imagine it's like you go to full training. He's probably been rehabbing and doing some training. I mean, I imagine cardio you could do some sort of swimming exercises or something, but
I saw that Matthew and Brady are trying to be the Kelsey brothers light of the North. And, I've never liked Matthew Tkachuk. I didn't like him in Calgary, and I certainly don't like him as a Stanley Cup winner twice. But anyways, I'm not sure that the Kelsey brothers are that high of a bar, but I'm also not sure that they've met it.
well, I've not listened to it. I've just heard comments on it,
Yeah.
and I have Brady Tkachuk on one of my fantasy teams, so I don't kind of want to ruin the affection that I have for him by. I've heard that the analysis and the engagement is not quite on the Kelsey level, but the
Yeah.
Kelsey brothers also touch on other things, right? Like, again, I haven't watched or listened to the Tkachuk brothers podcast,
Yeah.
and I wonder. I mean, they're both really good interviews, but I wonder if they're like good in small doses, and maybe a half hour is too much. Now, some people might think that half an hour of us is too much.
Yeah, definitely.
So
They'd be correct.
yeah, but we're not bringing and we're not even bringing any sort of hockey bona fides to our discussions. We're just a couple of old guys who are expressing some thoughts and opinions that nobody else might give a crap about.
That's true. But, what can you do? I mean, you either bore the crap out of your parents or you get on a call and enjoy it and talk to each other, right?
Well, oh, for sure, we enjoy it. We just have to entertain ourselves, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If anybody else enjoys it as well, that's a bonus.
yeah, exactly.
But maybe we're the bar that the Kachuk brothers have to meet, and that will be the only time that sentence is ever stated.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, buddy, thank you very much.
Yep.
And you have an excellent Christmas.
We'll do. We'll try and convene before New Year's Eve so we can do a final sort of thoughts on who may or may not make the Olympic teams.
That's right. That's right.
And
Well,
if there's any significant injuries, because I know I saw just a quick note then, just as we're teasing that, Seth Jarvis had a pretty horrific looking crash into the net, shockingly, against Florida on a non-tripping call.
I saw that.
And
Is he out?
well, he's out right now, but they're, again, everything around this time of year, they're talking about, well, he should be back for the Olympic team. But,
Yeah, exactly.
if somebody's out for a month and then all of a sudden you got to bring them back in,
Hmm.
my guess is he's going to still make the team, and he might be one of the three guys that then sits if he's not completely healthy. But
Although the list of guys to take and sit, it can't be that long, right? Like you were talking about Hagel, and so he's already on the team, and he may be one of the extras. So it's an amusing sort of exercise. Yeah. Oh, by the way, okay, so for our next conversation, make sure you sharpen the imaginary knives against Calgary, but also I do think that the indulgence given to the sad sack Seattle Kraken, which I believe is a bunch of alliteration, which is nice. I think that they are fair game now. I mean, anyone who's going to give an entire $650 million US franchise to Ron Francis deserves all the mocking, I think, that comes their way. So I do like Shane Wright. He wasn't a good number 4 pick, but I think he's going to turn into a solid 3C, maybe 2C. And but yeah, Seattle, I think, is just a bunch of nothing burgers. I will stand to be corrected, but I'm gonna start flaming them and throwing it out there because I think they deserve it.
well, you're also doing this because you don't want to leave our Seattle friend out of the pokes and jabs, is my guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Seattle, Seattle has, like, Matty Beniers is a potential 2C. Shane Wright's a potential 2C. They're both quality 3Cs. Their problem is they don't have a superstar.
Yeah.
Now, the way that they're trending this year, they might be in a position to draft a superstar this year, and there might not be a franchise that needs it more than Seattle.
Well, it's funny because the only franchises that matter uh, to this podcast, at least, Calgary, Seattle, Vancouver, and Toronto, we all might be trending towards the first overall pick. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, and now watch all of us finish outside the top three, and we're picking fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well,
Excellent.
okay.
You have a good holiday, and
Okay,
we will touch base next week.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you for watching the Dads Who Talk podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe, and you can catch us on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. We look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.